Ayy, look, yeah, ayy. I'm in the lab like Dexter, brand new batch he tested. I'm with all the extras, don't try and bitch, I'm pressure. I'm the type to step on steppers, I'm the type to step on steppers. I'm the type to step on steppers, I'm the type to step on steppers.
So we'll go ahead and move on to our round two preview. We got a lot of interesting matchups there, and we'll start with the Eastern Conference. And we'll start with the Miami Heat going up against the New York Knicks. This series will start in New York on Sunday.
I got the Knicks in 6 in this game. I feel like just the overall like size uh advantage that they have is just like ridiculous, and it's even more than what they had in the Cavs, since the Cavs have those two bigs. But like the overall size advantage that they have, I mean, outside of Brunson, they got 6'7", RJ Barrett 6'6", Josh Hart, Julius Randle, he's still nursing that ankle injury, and then of course on top of that you got Mitchell Robinson, who's 7'1". They have a lot of advantage on the size of boards, and this was a series that we really, really, really needed Tyler Hero, because Thibodeau, he's gonna respect Jimmy Butler. He's not gonna treat him like how Coach Budenholzer treated Jimmy Butler. He's gonna be putting multiple bodies on him. He's gonna send Josh Hart at him. He's gonna send Grimes at him. He's gonna shade over. He's gonna cover the gaps. He's not gonna let Jimmy Butler beat him 1-on-1. And so this would be a series where a guy like Tyler Hero would be really missed a lot, because his shot making ability this season, he's always been performing pretty well against the Knicks. So this is the type of series that we would have missed him. But a lack of a secondary shot maker is just going to hurt us a lot in this series. And Jimmy Butler is going to be forced to be a playmaker a lot more than he needs to be. And our 3-point shooting, I just don't see us consistently having that same level of 3-point shooting that we did against the Bucks. I mean, the Bucks scheme allows for 3-point shooting. They play a lot of drop coverage. They don't cover the 3-point line that well. And we were one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the entire league this season. And I just don't see us. I just see us regressing to the mean. I don't see us having that same level of unreal 3-point shooting that we had against the Bucks in the first round. And I feel like the Knicks' overall physicality is going to get to us. So I got the Knicks in 6 in this game, in this series.
Abdi, man, you're doubting your boys again, man. You're doubting
I
your boys
am
again,
only
man.
because I don't think Thibodeau is going to disrespect Jimmy Butler like Coach Bud was.
This is playoff Butler. Right? Even if Tip doesn't disrespect him, man, I'm gonna go with Heat in 7. I feel like it's gonna be a long series, and I feel like the key attributions to the series, obviously Jimmy carrying the Heat, but I feel like Bam's gonna step up a little more, and I feel like Kyle Lowry, he was playing phenomenal that last year, and I feel like he's gonna have a better role in this series, and he's gonna show up. And the only thing wrong is just the inconsistency of you guys' shooting. If you guys can get consistent on the shooting side of the ball, I feel like you guys take the Knicks out, and I feel like the Knicks, with Randall coming into the series already injured on his ankle, I'm pretty sure he's doubtful for the first game. So a lot of guys are gonna have to step up. Obi Toppin's gonna have to step up. Brunson's gonna have to show up again. RJ Barrett's gonna have to show up, and guys like that. So I feel like first game, I feel like Miami's gonna come in and punch them in their mouth, and it's gonna dictate their series. The last round Knicks against the Cavs, they're the much better physical team, but I feel like Miami, they always play physical, nose hard, physical type basketball, and they did that against the Bucks, and I feel like they're gonna do that against the Knicks. So I feel like it's going to be a physical series, but playoff Butler is going to be the best player on the court, and he's going to get some help from his supporting cast. And I got the Heat in 7.
I feel like for me, the difference in this series is going to be the health of Julius Randle. I think if he's able to, play a lot of the games in this series, I feel like the Knicks are going to be in good shape and they'll come out of this series winning in 7. For me, because I think the shot making, the Knicks can match that. I think Jalen Brunson can match Jimmy Butler and Jimmy Butler's output, not necessarily like the 50 balls and stuff like that, but RJ Barrett, he'll contribute where he can, and then Julius Randle is going to be the guy that needs to step up in this series. I feel like of course, as we mentioned, he didn't have a great first series against the Cleveland Cavaliers, but Jalen Brunson and RJ were just good enough to win that series. And the Miami Heat are a completely different team. This is a team led by Jimmy Butler. It's not a team led by Donovan Mitchell. And that's no disrespect to Donovan Mitchell, but we know how great of a playoff riser Jimmy Butler is. And I feel like, the Miami Heat being there before, being in a situation like this where, these guys are always the underdogs coming into the postseason, so they've been in the situation. They know what it feels like for the people to doubt them and stuff like that. And when you got a guy like Jimmy Butler, like we mentioned, you got all the shot in the world. You got the one of the best chances to win. And I feel like the key is Julius Randle stepping up and, the other guys kind of just contributing where they can. And, this series starts in New York, so they got to come out of the situation, at least 1-1 at worst, or 2-0 at best. And so, I feel like the Miami Heat, they're gonna lack a lot of shooting in this series. And Jimmy Butler, he's pretty much gonna have to do what he did against the Milwaukee Bucks, where we're gonna have to see those 40-point games. We're gonna have to see a 50-point game potentially, and I don't necessarily see that, for the throughout the course of this series, because like Abdi mentioned, I think Tibbs is gonna respect Jimmy Butler's ability to make some shots, and there's going to be a lot of bodies thrown at him, and there's going to be a lot of guys that have to step up outside of Jimmy Butler. Kyle Lowry, Bam Adebayo, and then all these others, undrafted role players that kind of step up for the Miami Heat during the postseason. And so, I'll go ahead and pick the Knicks to win this series in 7, but that just truly relies on the health of Julius Randle. If he's not at 100%, or he's not able to go in any of these games, then the Miami Heat are going to just take care of business like they always do, and probably win this series in 6. So for me, Knicks in 7 if Julius Randle's able to go, but if not, I'll go ahead and say Heat in 6. But now we move on to the Philadelphia 76ers and the Boston Celtics. The last time we talked about the Sixers was about like a week ago. These guys took care of business against the Brooklyn Nets, sweeping them and earning the right to have a week off of basketball. Boston Celtics coming off a very tough series against the Atlanta Hawks, and now these two teams match up once again in the postseason. Man, I feel like we've seen these guys match up a couple years ago, and now they go again on Monday. And so, Philadelphia versus Boston, who do we got?
I mean, like, I would have loved to see this matchup, but Joel Embiid's already doubtful for game 1. He might be flying with the team, but I highly doubt that he plays these first 2 games in Boston. I mean, the reports are coming out that he has the LCL sprain, and that literally requires 3 weeks, and he's at less than 50%. Before that, we had heard like he just needed a week of rest and he'd be good, and it's sounding like he's going to be on the more doubtful side according to Shams and Woj. And he's unlikely to play these first 2 games, which is a complete blow to the 76ers. I mean, they needed this guy out there, and it feels like his body just never allows him to be healthy at all. I think he got injured on the play where he went up to try to block Cameron Johnson, and then he fell, or he tried to go for a layup, one of the 2 plays, and then he fell down, and Cameron Johnson's legs kind of tied his ankle, and his knee kind of sprained back. So I mean, it's just unfortunate for Joel Embiid, but in this series, I got Boston Celtics winning in about 5. It's now this is more solidified by the fact that Joel Embiid's probably going to miss these first 2 games, and without him, I just don't see a situation where these guys are going to be able to beat this Celtics team. They're going to need some way better series from James Harden, who I feel like is rested. His finishing, there's no way it's going to be as bad as it was against Brooklyn Nets, who, they have a guy that's switchable in Nick Claxton, and they have a lot of good perimeter defenders in Michael Bridges and Dorian Finney-Smith. And so I do think James Harden's going to have somewhat of a decent series, and Tyrese Maxey is going to be a series where he needs to show up. But ultimately, the Celtics have too much firepower, especially against a team with an injured Joel Embiid. I just don't see a situation where the 76ers are going to be able to win this without their MVP on the floor. So give me the Celtics in 5.
Yeah, I feel like, with the Embiid news, it being doubtful, the first 2 games is going to be tough for the Sixers. They're missing their best player, the MVP most likely the MVP of the league, and it's going to be tough for them. I feel like the Celtics, they're too much equipped from the guard position to the forward position to even the bench. They have the depth. They have guys like Brogdon coming off the bench, Robert Williams, role players like Horford, Smart, and Derek White showing up, and then you got your 2 stars. You got Tatum and you got Jaylen Brown. And I feel like it's just too much firepower for the Sixers. They're missing Embiid, and it's going to take a lot on Harden to produce and go up against these giants here. And Maxey going to have to show up, and guys like Tobias Harris, man, they're going to have to earn their paycheck. The guys getting paid like that, they're going to have to come into the game and try to produce and make up for what Embiid's missing. And it's going to be tough for them. So I'm probably going to rock with the Celtics in 6, given the fact that Embiid might come back, and I just feel like they'll give 2 games to the Sixers. And other than that, I just don't think the Sixers got a chance. So I'm rocking with the Celtics in 6.
Yeah, it's just an unfortunate situation, for Joel Embiid specifically. It's just like, each and every year we kind of hope this guy just stays healthy throughout the course of the postseason, and it just hasn't been the case these last couple of years. And he even said it in that matchup against Nikola Jokic in January, where he's like, I'm due for a good playoff run, a great playoff run. And, now it's already being cut short due to this knee injury that he sustained against the Brooklyn Nets. And so, I feel like, even with Joel Embiid, the series was still going to go in Boston's favor. Maybe extend this. It probably would have extended to like 6 games, but for me, I'm still going to stick with Boston in 5. Because I just feel like with this news of Joel Embiid being out, I just don't trust guys like James Harden, Tyrese Maxey, and Tobias Harris to, keep the ship afloat until their MVP comes back. And so the the Boston Celtics, these guys know the Celtics team inside out. They've been very, very successful against this Sixers team inside out. These guys know how to beat them consistently, and I feel like the shot making from Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum is just going to be too much for these guys to handle. And at this point, after these guys get knocked out of the second round, the Sixers do got to look themselves in the mirror and ask themselves, if they have the roster and the pieces, to compete for a championship. Because I feel like even with Joel Embiid in this series, even if he were to be healthy, I feel like the Celtics will still win this series in 6. And this is a team that you're going to have to consistently run up against. You're going to have to beat the best in order to be the best. And I feel like these guys just don't have enough enough firepower to match the Boston Celtics. And so go ahead and give me the Celtics in 5. Not much for me to say out of that coming out of that series. Joel Embiid, you wish him the best in his recovery, but it's just going to be tough because, of course, in the postseason you want to see the best players go at it, and unfortunately he's not going to be available for the 76ers basketball club. But now we go ahead and move on to the Western Conference. We got an interesting matchup here to kick us off. We have the Phoenix Suns going up against the Denver Nuggets. Who do we got and why?
I got the Denver Nuggets in 7. I feel like this is going to be a series between two heavyweight offenses. I mean, you have on one side some all-time level shot making from the Phoenix Suns and Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, two guys who get to their spots consistently and hit shots whenever they're able to get to them. I mean, these two mid-range assassins, we've spoken about them before. I mean, they were a ridiculous duo in that first round series, going up against a balanced offense who have the 2-time MVP. To me, the best player in this series, and one of the better playoff risers in Jamal Murray, and a bunch of contributing role players. And ultimately, I have the Denver Nuggets winning this series, just because the lack of depth, I think, is going to show up a lot more in this series. In the first round, you're going up against Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, and it didn't really matter because you had Norman Powell and you're going up against Batum and Westbrook, and now all of a sudden you're going up against Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. and Nikola Jokic, and suddenly these guys are playing 45 plus minutes against those guys. And I feel like a lot of people aren't mentioning the fact that they're playing in Denver these first 2 games, and like, that's a huge difference. Like, that Denver altitude gets to guys. Like, the atmosphere is going to make a huge difference. I feel like if they're unable to get not even one game in Denver, that's gonna shift the series completely. It may even shift the entire outlook for the entire series. So, I got the Denver Nuggets winning this game. I think the depth is going to hurt them. I don't think DeAndre Ayton is going to have success guarding Nikola Jokic. I think Kevin Durant and Devin Booker are still going to have good series, but they're just going to have too many contributing players, and Chris Paul is not going to be playable in this series. I just don't think that's my one takeaway from this. I don't think Chris Paul is going to be playable in this series. That he's going to be hunted relentlessly in this series, and the Suns, I feel like this is where they're going to get exposed at going up against a team like this who just have a balanced offense. So give me the Denver Nuggets in 7.
Yeah,
Going against your pick. I mean, you had him initially going to the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, but that first round series kind of just threw me off, man. That I didn't expect them to be in dogfights with role players. So,
hey man, yeah, like I just mentioned, they were in dogfights with some role players, and now you got a balanced offense with the 2-time MVP and Jamal Murray, playoff Murray. He said he don't want to be called that because he said he does it, everyday thing for him. So, Jamal Murray showing up at this playoffs and recent playoffs, I feel like he has a bone to pick out with the Suns. That he's coming for that top spot, and I feel like this offense is just too balanced. You got Jokic, you got Murray, you got MPJ, and then you got your role players in KCP, Bruce Brown, and Aaron Gordon. So they got the depth on the bench. They they got a well balanced offense, and I feel like the Suns, man, they had their issues with the Clippers. Letting big leads get cut very quick by them. Comebacks happening quick, and not having enough guys on the bench to show up for them, and we're just relying on 2 guys on the offensive side of the ball. Obviously, them 2 guys are crazy together. You got KD, one of the best offensive sources, and you got Book, one of the best 2 guards in the league as well. So for them, it's going to be tough. Their guys playing 45 minutes, and we know CP3 is a cone. I don't think he's going to give much on the offensive side of the ball. And plus Aiden as well, man. I feel like this guy, mentally, he's just soft. He just soft, and I feel like he's in that bracket with Cat where he doesn't want to really get involved in the physical game, and I feel like the Nuggets are going to try to get physical with him and see if he's tough enough to hold out or just try to cancel him out the game. And I got the Nuggets in 6. I feel like it's too balanced for them. Defensively they're going to be on point, and guys like KD and Book they're going to get theirs. But where the help's going to come from the other guys? Is it going to be Ayton? Is it going to be CPO? Is it going to be Cameron Payne? Who is it going to be? So Nuggets in 6.
I'm just sitting here waiting extremely patiently to take my victory lap on this Phoenix Suns basketball club, man. I'm waiting for these guys to get knocked out of the postseason so I can go ahead and say I was one of the few people that didn't believe in this super team when it got built at the trade deadline. Of course, you have to respect guys like Devin Booker and guys like Kevin Durant teaming up and their ability to make shots, but the one thing that I've always highlighted was, the lack of depth for this team. These guys have zero depth, and that's what happens when you trade for a superstar in Kevin Durant. And a lot of super teams don't have depth, a lot of depth, and you have to be able to rely heavily on those two guys and the guys that are in your starting lineup like Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton. So my issue is I don't have any issues with or any trust issues with guys like KD and D Book. I just have a lot of issues with CP and DeAndre Ayton and what they're able to bring to this team, and along with the bench issues. And so ultimately, I'm going to go ahead and pick the Denver Nuggets in 7. I picked them in the beginning of this postseason to make the Western Conference Finals, and I believe they'll do so due to the fact that I think Jamal Murray is going to have a hell of a series. I think he'll step up and show people why he's one of the top point guards in this league. And Nikola Jokic is going to be a force to be reckoned with in this series. I don't think DeAndre Ayton or Bismack Biyombo are going to be able to contain this guy in the paint, and he's going to be able to do whatever he wants. And DeAndre Ayton is a guy that's going to be under the microscope coming out of this series simply because they paid him all that money. They matched that contract that he got from Indy in order to keep this guy and keep the main core intact. And if he's not able to contain Jokic and contribute on the offensive end, they're going to have to really question that contract that they offered him in this last offseason. And so the Denver Nuggets, the key to this series, of course, Jamal Murray and Jokic will have it going, but guys like Michael Porter Jr. Have to be perfect. They got to chip in. He has to chip in where he can. Aaron Gordon needs to do his thing and take advantage of the lack of size that the Phoenix Suns have, and he needs to be able to attack the glass and be a force around the rim. And I feel like the role players will step up and do their thing, guys like Bruce Brown and KCP and stuff like that. And so, the Denver Nuggets will come out of this series and with a win in 7. And then, of course, Abdi, you do bring up a good point, good take. Chris Paul is going to be unplayable in this series. And, it's tough because this guy's going to have to be able to play 40-something minutes in every game. And, it's not going to be a good look for a guy like Chris Paul because, the last time we saw this guy have a great playoff game was probably, that last on his birthday, probably in Dallas last year's postseason. It's like this guy's extremely old. He can't be playing 40 minutes. He can't be out on the floor. He's a cone on defense. Patrick Beverley highlighted that when they ended up getting bounced by the Dallas Mavericks last year. And so it's just going to be tough. Devin Booker and KD are going to do their thing, but where's the help going to come from outside of that? You're going to rely on guys like Ayton and Josh Okogie and, Damian Lee and Landry Shamet to contribute where they can. So I think the Phoenix Suns do chip away a couple games, about 3 games in this series, but ultimately it's going to come down to who's going to play better defense and who's going to be able to make a lot of tough shots. And I'll trust the Denver Nuggets in any situation against this Phoenix Suns team. And so go ahead and give me the Denver Nuggets in 7. But now we move on to the last series, a series that's, been in the running for a very, very long time. It's something that we looked at, that when the bracket came out and, we hoped for, but we finally got it now. And we got the Los Angeles Lakers going up against the Golden State Warriors in the second round of the NBA playoffs. A series is going to be very, very high in the ratings. This is probably Adam Silver is a very, very happy man that he got this because the ratings are going to skyrocket through the roof. But who do we got winning and why?
I got the Lakers in 6 in this series. I think Kevon Looney is going to be unplayable in this series for some portion of this, just because, when you're going from a matchup with Sabonis to Anthony Davis, it's a huge jump in. He can't disrespect Anthony Davis's mid-range jump shot. I think Anthony Davis is going to cause this team a lot of problems, just the overall size and physicality that he brings. I mean, the Lakers, they have a lot of guys that play physical on this team. And, if there's one group of guys that can match that, it's definitely them. And I feel like the Lakers already played the best defense that they're going to play this entire playoffs. I mean, the Memphis Grizzlies were a top 3 defense, and you saw that evidence in LeBron and Anthony Davis not having the best scoring playoffs, and that's just credit to the Memphis Grizzlies defense. That's just who they are. They're defensively, they're amazing. Offensively, they do have some issues, but defensively, they're phenomenal. And I think the Lakers already played the best defense that they're going to play for the rest of the playoffs. So coming into this matchup, there's going to be some key notes. You're going to have LeBron James being guarded by Andrew Wiggins. You're going to have Kevon Looney and Draymond Green versus Anthony Davis. And then they might put Vando on Steph Curry. And, they're going to switch around the matchups. But ultimately, I think the size of the Lakers is just too much for the Golden State Warriors to handle. And I think Anthony Davis is going to be one of his better scoring series because he's just going to be have too much size for this team. I think Draymond Green in previous series in the past, like 2016, he was able to give Anthony Davis problems, but that was back when Anthony Davis was more of a power forward. He wasn't as big and strong as he is now. I think Anthony Davis, scoring wise, he's going to cause a lot of problems for this team. I think ultimately there's just too much size. Steph Curry's going to have his series. You're never going to stop him, but outside of that, I think they can do a good enough job on Klay Thompson and Jordan Poole. I mean, he hasn't shown up once in this playoffs, and I don't expect him to show up in this series. I do think Austin Reeves might end up outplaying Jordan Poole in this type of series, so I got the Lakers in 6.
And I ain't got to say much. I got the Lakers at 6-2. We doubling down on this side of the ball, man. And this is a series that I've been waiting for. I wanted Memphis first round, and I told us, hey, we get Golden State second round. They're gonna get some smoke. They're gonna get some smoke. And I just want to highlight, like Abdi said, man, Memphis, one of the best defensive teams in the NBA. They gave us a little fitting problems on the offensive side of the ball for LeBron and AD. They didn't have a great offensive series, but defensively we showed up. And our role players, Rui, guys like AR, guys like D'Lo, guys like Dennis Schroeder coming off the bench, they showed up. They played phenomenally well in games that we needed to. And I feel like coming into this series, this is an Anthony Davis game, right? This is an Anthony Davis series. I mean, I feel like it's his time to go show off his offensive case. It's his time. Looney has struggled in the past against AD. We've seen it. There's multiple games where he's unplayable against Anthony Davis, and it causes him problems. So, I feel like LeBron, AD, these guys are going to come in on the offensive side of the ball with a big issue, and they're going to have some fun. And I feel like the Warriors, Curry's going to get his, but guys like Klay Thompson or Kyle Korver, and guys like Jordan Poole, who was outplayed in the series, the whole series had outplayed by Malik Monk and guys like De'Aaron Fox, and he's played very well, but to have him on the bench a lot of those minutes, him not helping the starting lineup, him not being the guy that he's supposed to be, I just don't see where the offense is going to come from. Wiggins, he's on and off. There's inconsistent. He might be the second guy for Curry, but other than that, guys like Draymond, guys like Klay, guys like Poole, I feel like we're going to clamp him and we're going to have a fun series. I got the Lakers in 6. LeBron is going to take care of Curry, and Anthony Davis is going to just stamp himself on the series. A lot of people have been labeling him, hey, soft. He, 15 points here, 16 points here. He's going to give you that offensive series. You guys are going to be quiet. We've seen the defensive side of the ball. It's time for him to step up on the offensive side of the ball. So Lakers in 6, baby.
Oh man, it took everything out of me not to laugh what both of you guys just said, man. But for me, this one, I mean, obviously, I'm sticking with my pick from the start of the postseason. I think the Warriors win this series in 7. It's going to be a tough series between the Lakers and the Warriors, and I think all the difference in the world is going to go to the 3 ball for the Warriors in this series. I feel like it's a different series now that the Warriors have gone out of that series against Sacramento Kings, where it was a very fast-paced series. The Kings are a young team; they were flying up and down the court, and the Warriors had to kind of control the pace and play their style of basketball and force the Kings to play at their pace. And so I think the Warriors did a good job at that. And of course, they came out of that series victorious. But going into this series, this is going to come down to LeBron James being able to assert his dominance and assert his dominance on this series. And I feel like we saw a little bit of LeBron, a little bit of his struggle show out there on display in that Memphis series. And although they're able to win that series, but this is a completely different basketball team we're talking about. This is the reigning champs. And so, LeBron James, he's dealing with a foot injury. That's no breaking news to anybody. And, he was struggling to get a step on Xavier Tillman. That's just no disrespect to LeBron James, but, now we're on different sides and we're foes now. And so, you got to highlight all of his flaws. And so, he was struggling to get by Xavier Tillman, and I think the Warriors are going to be able to match that. They'll probably put Wiggins on Braun, and they'll be a good matchup. He'll be able to, contain them, not necessarily shut him down or anything like that. And Anthony Davis, man, he's going up against a very feisty, energetic Draymond Green, a guy who brings it on the defensive side of the ball, and so he's gonna really have to bring it. I don't necessarily see Kevon Looney being unplayable in this series. I can't see that simply because what type of lineup are the Lakers gonna throw out there where he's unplayable, and I think in certain situations it's like you're gonna need Looney's offensive rebounding and his rebounding as a whole to kind of give you that edge in certain games, but I don't necessarily think he'll be unplayable as a whole. And so, when I think about guys that are unplayable, you probably think the first guy that comes to my mind is probably a guy like Sabonis after just watching what happened in that series. I don't think the Lakers will be able to take out Looney as a whole. I think he'll be able to contribute where he can. And, we all know this is probably not going to be a series for him because I don't think he'll be needed as heavily as he was in this past series because, it's like you mentioned, you guys highlight the Lakers having like some sort of size advantage on the Warriors. I don't necessarily see it. They got Anthony Davis and pretty much just that's it.
LeBron and Rui Hachimura
No, that's not like
and Vanderbilt as well.
It's that
All
that's
those guys
not,
all the guys are like 6'8" plus.
that's not like crazy. That's not a crazy size advantage. I'm thinking
Like out the Warriors' tallest player is Kevon Looney, man.
Yeah, but they also got guys as well. They got Looney in there, they got Draymond in there, they got Wiggins in there as well. So
That's the same thing. LeBron, Anthony Davis, Vanderbilt, Rui Hachimura. Those are all tall guys.
And that's the point. That's the point I'm trying to make. That I wouldn't necessarily give the Lakers a size advantage in that situation.
I mean, Anthony Davis already gives them it though. Anthony Davis is the size advantage. I mean, that's their true number one size.
Anthony Davis is not Sabonis. That's all I gotta say.
That my thing is Kevon Looney. He cannot guard him like he can guard Sabonis. He's not gonna sit back on him. That's the difference that's the thing that I have. He can't sit in the paint for Anthony Davis.
Pick and rolls at him with D'Lo. He's gonna have to step up on D'Lo.
I don't think the thing is, as long as I don't, because the thing is the Lakers are gonna try to put Vando on Steph Curry. So I feel like whenever Vanderbilt's on the floor, they're gonna try to match Looney in that situation, because I think Looney will probably start out on Vando, not necessarily respecting his offensive game, and which will allow Looney to just kind of hang around the paint and grab rebounds where he can. And so, if Vanderbilt's off the floor, I don't think Looney will be on the floor. It might be there, to guard Anthony Davis from time to time. But I expect the closing lineup for the Golden State Warriors to be with the lineup with Jordan Poole, and so it's probably going small, throwing Draymond Green on Anthony Davis and then inserting Jordan Poole into the lineup. And I think that's their best shot at the Lakers. And so, and the one thing that also helps the Warriors in this situation is the fact that they start this series out at home. They have home court advantage. And so, although it's a short turnaround for them, they got a game in a couple of days. And so, it's going to be, they're not going to be, fully rested like the Lakers are. They're one of the best teams at home. And so the Warriors, you could trust them at home. I don't necessarily think they'll have much performances like they did in Game 6 against the Sacramento Kings, and so that gives me the edge to go ahead and say the Warriors will win the series in 7. But the Lakers they're coming in red hot. One of the best teams since the trade deadline. They play amazing defense. They can lock in, and then when they play amazing defense like they did against the Grizzlies, they can just go out there on the fast break and push the pace of the game and really just take over like that. And it's going to be hard for the Warriors if they let the Lakers play that type of brand of basketball. But I don't think the Warriors will do that. And I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and say Warriors in 7, but this series could go either way. Jordan Poole, X factor for the Warriors for sure. That last series, I'm just gonna chalk it up and say that it wasn't the series for him. He wasn't able to, match the physicality that the Sacramento Kings were throwing at him. They're throwing bodies at him. Davion Mitchell did a hell of a job. Malik Monk and De'Aaron Fox, and whenever he got into the paint and did his little scoop layup, pretty much every time he did that, it got blocked, and the Kings were always going out there and pushing the break. And I feel like in this series, he's going to be able to do his thing due to the fact that the Lakers, they got D'Lo who don't play defense. Austin Reeves you can kind of respect, but at the same time, on that side of the ball, I wouldn't necessarily call him like a lockdown defender or anything like that. So, Jordan Poole will be able to get it going. Steph Curry is going to be able to show up. Klay Thompson will do his thing, and ultimately, this is going to come down to Steph Curry and LeBron James, and who's the better out of the two. And I'm going to ride with Steph every single time. And so the Warriors will win this series in 7. This is going to be entertaining as hell. We thought the Sacramento Kings and Warriors were entertaining. We got, LeBron James and Steph Curry going at it for the final time probably in their careers. And, we've seen these guys go at it in the NBA finals. We've never seen these guys go at it in the second round of the NBA playoffs. And so, we got to appreciate it as we have it in front of us as of right now. We're not going to have it for too long. And so it's going to be entertaining. But ultimately Warriors come out of this series in 7, man. But that pretty much wraps up our second round preview and our second round predictions. we're looking forward to some more entertaining playoff basketball as these playoffs go on.
Record a new hit, then we making us a film. Wouldn't sign a deal if I got a couple mil. Been in the lab, now they throwing out deals. Being out late, now that's overkill.